Beautiful. Oh yeah. Well, I was gonna say welcome you lucky people, but it's not, it's me who's the lucky one today. Look what I get to play out on. This is the brand new Triumph 765 Street Triple, the RS model. So this is pretty much the top end model. I've got it for a couple of hours from Yules of Manchester, the Triumph dealer. It's the same dealer that I got my Tiger Explorer from. So I trust these dealers, are very good people. And if you're looking for a good deal on Triumphs in the Manchester area, they're certainly the first choice you should choose. But however, this bike, just to look at it, it's looks wise, there's obviously quite a lot that's changed from the original Street Triple or the 675 version, but it's all roughly the same sort of silhouette, if you will. It's a smaller bike, quite small for me to sit on, but it feels lovely. And because it's the RS model, you have Brembo brakes. I think they're the M50s. Excellent. Before I've even put my leg over it, I can tell you that those brakes are superb. Matched up with a Brembo master cylinder, so you've got the full Brembo braking kit up front there, and also you've also got Brembo at the rear as well. But rear brakes are, yeah, not that bothered about rear brakes, we don't use them very much. But you've also got an Öhlins suspension unit at the back. And instead of, it would have been nice if it had Öhlins on the front, but it doesn't. It has Showa big piston forks on it, and there is not a damn thing wrong with Showa forks. They are exceptionally good quality, high-end bouncers, so you can't really fault the bike for that. It's excellent. It's got the Triumph up-only quickshifter, which is fine by me. It's a lovely, smooth, activating quickshifter. It's a bit of a dirty one, this bike. She's obviously had a bit of use as a demonstrator, but it's done 1,300 miles, so I quite like that. So it's fully running, so it means I can get on it a little bit and not feel guilty about thrashing it. But 765 cc's. 121 brake horsepower, 77 newton meters, 166 kilograms dry. So stick another 20 kilograms on for fuel, oil, etc. And you're looking at a lightweight bike with a quite a healthy amount of power. Now, I like those figures, I really do. And I'll explain a little bit more as to why I like those figures a bit later, but on board feels very similar to sit on in the previous model of the Street Triple. Everything's very comfortable, you're in a sort of semi-sat up position, but you're not fully upright, so you can just drop your elbows a bit and you're in quite a sporty tuck. I quite like these bar end mirrors as well. They give you a good view to the rear and you can see a little bit into your blind spot, but I quite like the way they clear the front of the bike up and make it look a lot cleaner and nicer. I do like that. And this new for this year, this Triumph TFT screen, which I really like. And this is a good little feature, watch this. You can adjust the angle of it. Pretty pointless, but good. I like that. That's a little feature that someone's obviously thought about. Look at the state of my summer gloves. They're shocking. I need some new summer gloves. I really do. They are really bad. Making it look very unprofessional. Anyway, let's go for a bit of a ride, shall we? Now on board, just when I first pulled off and I pulled away, my first thought was no power. But then I have to remind myself I ride a Yamaha R1, so of course it's not got the power of an R1. But honestly, within a half a mile of leaving the dealer, it just makes more sense having this much power. than 200 horsepower. And when I said earlier that those numbers excited me, that's the 121 brake horsepower and the 77 newton meters of torque, that is plenty for a road bike. I think it's possibly the optimal amount of power for a road bike. 200 brake horsepower, or like 180 at the back wheel, is ridiculous for a road bike. It's quite frankly too much. And I've gone on record as saying this before, that litre bikes now, especially sports bikes, full sports replica bikes, they're overpowered. You cannot use a fraction of their capability on road, whereas this, you can use it. It is so easy to ride at low speeds. The fueling, I've got to say, is lovely. Almost feels like it's coming through carburettors. There's no jerkiness at all in the throttle. The throttle feels almost analog. It's lovely the way you can just roll it, and there's no, like on the R1, it's, you know, it's like this, it's jerking forward because the throttle is so sensitive, and it has to be like that to get that amount of power through Euro 4 so that the emissions are right and it runs suitably lean. Whereas what Triumph have done with this, I mean, obviously Triumph have faced the ever-looming spectre of Euro 4, and they thought, well, how are we going to address this on our street triple? The strangulating regulations of Euro 4 are going to cut power. They are. If you don't change the engine, then you're going to lose power and you're going to lose feel. So what they've done is, quite smartly, they've just made it a bigger engine. But they've brought it into, which is one of my favourite engine capacity ranges, and that's like 750. I love 750 bikes because they have that sweet spot of power. Not too much, not too little. Some 600s can be a little bit gutless unless you rev the back end out of them. Whereas this, because it's a triple and it's obviously been fueled for street riding, it's got a nice little bit of mid-range grunt in it, but it doesn't suffer at all in the bottom end. It is just so lovely to ride at low speeds, which makes it more relaxing. It's much more relaxing to ride than my R1. At low speed, the R1's a little bit jerky, and and the riding position makes it a little bit more uncomfortable. But because you're upright on this bike, you can just carve through traffic in absolute confidence. And these Brembo brakes are super strong, so you can just stop. I mean, just hootling around like this now, you know, it's at 30 miles per hour. The bike's very well behaved. It's got that signature Triumph triple whistle, which some people don't seem to like for some reason, but I quite like it. It just means that the bike is chilled, it's relaxed. I mean, I'm in 4th gear, 30 miles an hour, no hunting, no surging. I've got it in sports mode. There are other modes which I'm not going to play with today. You know what I'm like with modes. Pick one you like and stay with it. And sport mode feels fine. There is a track mode which I might try, but things like rain mode, all that, I'm not interested in that. Just lay off the throttle a little bit if it's raining. But as gentle and nice as it is, even in 4th gear at 30 miles an hour, it's got enough torque to roll on. And the whole character of the bike changes. It becomes this, suddenly becomes a snorting, roaring, fun, powerful, sporty bike. And that's what I like about these triple engines, because I like an engine with character. It's kind of part of the checklist that a bike has to have if I'm going to ever be interested in owning one. There's got to be character in not only the sort of feel of the bike, but also in the engine as well, which is why I liked my Veefour 2.0, it's why I like my R1, it's why I like my Tiger Explorer, and it's why I like this. You know, I've tried an S1000RR, I've tried a Kawasaki ZX6, and a lot of the time these inline 4 bikes, they are lovely, smooth, loads of linear power, but they're a little bit characterless. Whereas this, it's, you know, it's got a real nice Jekyll and Hyde persona. And it's shod in Pirelli Supercorsa SP tyres, which I'm a big fan of. They are just supremely confidence inspiring. And just make me feel like I can get right on this bike, I can hang off, not have to worry. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Beautiful. Oh yeah. But for all that hooligan shenanigans there, I wasn't particularly going super fast. But the engine was revving away and making me feel like I was, you know, something was happening in it. I like that. I like the fact that you can rev these out. You can rev them out in a way that you just cannot rev a modern liter bike out. No. Now, say for example, I mean, on the little bumps in the road there, on the R1, at that sort of like speed and RPM, it would have lifted the front wheel off about 3 inches from the road. This doesn't do that because I've not found the sweet spot of it. Not that I'm any good at wheelies, I am not. Anyone who's a long-standing viewer of my channel can attest to that. But power wheelies, yeah, I can lift the front wheel under power, and I've not found the spot on this where it will do that, but I don't really care. I'm not quite sussed out the rev match downshifts yet, but it's one of those bikes that I feel that, you know, I could really get to know really well. Because with the Öhlins shock absorber and these Showa piston forks, big piston forks, the suspension actually feels quite soft the way it's set up now. Now, with this being a demo bike, I don't know whether that's to do with the factory, or if it's come from the factory like that, or someone who's, I don't know, the demo's been playing with it, I don't know. It feels a little bit soft for my taste. Mid-corner it kind of feels like it kind of wallows a little bit, but that's not the bike, that's just the way the suspension's been set up on this particular bike, this particular model. If I had it, I would set it up a little bit firmer, I think. Not too much more, just enough that you've got the feel mid-corner, but not so much that you're feeling every single ripple in the road. And at the minute it's set up for, I mean, I can feel the bumps in the road, but they're not harsh or intrusive, and they're not uncomfortable. So yeah, it's pretty comfy. This is a good way to look at it. It's just a comfortable, nice bike that has a bit of a dark side. And the more I ride it, the more it's making me kind of think along the lines that, is this one of, if not the perfect rider's bike? Because, now stay with me here, I know that what one bike to one person is totally different to another rider. We all have our preferences. I mean, wow, there's people who like scooters out there, you know what I mean? And what's that all about? But you get people who like cruisers, people who like sports bikes, people who like adventure bikes, and they won't ever be swayed away from those particular machines. But with this one, it makes me feel as if Triumph have designed the bike with the rider in mind more than the aesthetical qualities of it. So they've started out with the outline of a rider sat on a bike, now and made that bike handle as well as it can, go as well as it can, and stop as well as it can with the equipment on board, and then dealt with the aesthetics later. Because arguably, and it is very arguable, because again it's a matter of taste, but arguably Triumph Street Triple, Speed Triple, they've never been the prettiest of bikes. I personally quite like the quirky, googly-eyed, goofy look of them, but it's not to everyone's taste, and I think that sometimes reflects in the sales, that people will, you know, the first bite is always with the eyes, isn't it? Don't get me wrong, I was like that with the Tuono. I fell in love with the way the looks of the Tuono. I bought it without even test riding it, just because I liked the way it looked and liked the way it felt when I sat on it in the showroom. Now, I think a lot of people look at the sort of twin headlight googly eyes of the Triumph Speed Triples and Street Triples and just instantly dismiss them on that, and I think they are missing out on a superb rider experience. It's really, really confidence inspiring to filter on. Although I'm heading into a bit of a blind left-hander here, so I'm not going to risk it. There's a lot I need to get used to with this TFT screen. It's got 101 different functions, which I'd need more than the scope of this little test ride first impressions to get to grips with that, so I'll just leave it. And it's a good piece of kit, but it would require a video in itself to sort of decipher. I've just been trying to find the average MPG, which is proving quite difficult to do. It'll be on there somewhere, but you know, I'd rather just ride the thing than faff about trying to stare. I mean, that's the modes. So what I'll do, I'll get it in modes. Mode. Let's put it in. Let's see if we can do it on the fly. Let's put it in, I think that is, oops, got the indicators on for miles. Now let's close throttle, pull clutch, there you go. Right, I am now in what appears to be track mode. Can't feel any immediate change, but let's go and find a nice open piece of road and see what track mode feels like. Sounds so good. Oh, these Brembo brakes are so good. Alright. Oops. I've accidentally put it in high beam. Right. Okay, I've got a nice bit of open road. Let's get rid of this Dacia Duster. Piece of road I know quite well. Just watch out for this emerging car here. Ooh, a big G out. Come on, out my way. The gears are excellent. They just snick up and down without a single hint of a clunk or a grind or anything. Beautiful. The clutch is really lightweight. Turns in a treat. very, very confidence inspiring. And it feels so lightweight and so flickable. Oh, I need to get past this lot because there's some nice corners coming up. Oh, they're gonna F me up in these corners, these bastards. People doing 30 miles an hour in a 60 zone, it's very, very annoying. But the RS gets rid of them, no problem. Oh, this is absolutely fantastic. I'm really liking this. It sounds nice with a stock exhaust on it, but with something like an arrow can on it, it'll just sound very nice, very, very nice. Calm it down a bit now because there's a pub ahead. And also this road gets very, very bumpy from here on in, which will be a good test for the suspension. What I like about it is, again, I'm not fully au fait with the specs, but I believe it does have traction control. But I've not felt any kind of intrusion from it, and quite frankly, if I owned it, I would turn it off because it just doesn't have quite enough power to warrant traction control on this size of machine. Maybe in rain mode, if you're that kind of person that uses rain mode, keep it on, but for every other time you just don't need it. Because with these Super Corsa FPs, you can drive it out the corners, no problem. And with a load of gravity from the Brembo brakes, back to civilised riding. And that road just then, that has really sold me on this bike. I'm going to go as far as to say it's more fun to ride than my R1, and that is saying a hell of a lot. Because I could not have revved my R1 out safely like I could back there, whereas I could on this. This is marvellous. I really, really like this machine. Now, it doesn't have any kind of screen or anything up front, and it doesn't bloody need one. Does not need one at all. Because, I mean, when I started motorcycle riding 30 odd years ago, things like screens on bikes, they just didn't exist. You got used to the wind blast. It was all part of the experience of riding a motorbike. Only things like BMW, old K100 BMWs with Polaris fairings used to have screens, like police motorbikes, things like that. And I've said this before, if you don't have any kind of wind protection at all, it's not a problem, because the wind blast that's hitting you, at this point it's 35 miles an hour, so it's a 35 miles an hour wind hitting me. It doesn't really matter, it's dispersed over your whole body, so you don't feel it. You can hear it whistling past your helmet, but you don't actually feel it impinging upon your body. Whereas if you start to put little bikini fairings on it and little aftermarket screens, at that point you then start to get the wind being compressed upwards, and you find it hitting you in the head. and making your helmet wobble about, and it making the wind noise a hell of a lot more. So for me, just leave it as is. Just let your whole body absorb the wind, and that way it's honestly not a big problem. This bike does not need wind protection, it is fine. I've still not been able to find the MPG, but if it's anything like the 675, it's gonna be in the high, like I'm riding it now, it'll be in the high 50 MPG plus, and on a motorway holding a steady 70 miles an hour, it's going to be about 65 to a gallon, so it's going to be quite economical as well. And it's comfortable. There's no vibrations through the bars or the foot pegs. The seating position is neutral, so you can move about, you can alter it. It doesn't have cruise control, which I thought it did, which is a shame. I'd have liked it to have cruise control. That's one minor point that it's got going against it. With Triumph putting cruise control on pretty much all their bikes now, I'm surprised they haven't put it on this. But maybe that's part of keeping it to the sub £10,000 price point, and it's a lot of bike for that. They do smaller versions or lesser versions of this. They do an S model, which is not as much power, certainly not as good suspension or brakes, cosmetics, and they also do another version which, again, I'm very sorry, but you can look it up yourselves. They do a version which is the 675 lower power version, and I think that's aimed at like new riders. But to be honest, I think if you are a mature person, male or female, when you're first, you know, you've passed your permits and licenses, whatever country or state you live in, and you're looking at getting a bike, and this one catches your eye, you like the look of it, you like the sound and feel of it, could you ride it as a first bike? Yeah, you probably could, because if you keep it below 6,000 RPM, it's very, very polite, very, very nice, and very, very comfortable. If you want to go playing on it, you take it above that, the whole thing changes, it makes a load of noise, and it suddenly becomes this fun bike to ride. Now, size-wise, it's quite a small bike. Well, small compared to a lot of adventure bikes and such like. I'm 6'1" and one whole half of 1 inch tall, and I am totally flat-footed with slightly bent knees when sat on this bike. So if you're like 5'8", you're going to have your toes, you're going to have pretty much all your foot on the floor, maybe your heels lifted slightly. And if you're 5'4" to 5'6", you might be on tiptoes, but it's a light bike and it can be managed. And Triumph are usually very good at doing aftermarket options like low seats and things like that. So I think this is a bike to suit all tastes and all levels of experience. Now, I've been riding 30 years and this has got enough fun power for me, it really has. It's got enough fun power for anyone, and the handling is beautiful. The brakes are beautiful, the seating position is comfy, and it'll do reasonably good gas mileage. What's there not to like? And the reason why I'm very, very keen to try this bike, ever since I first heard of its inception, because I really did like the Triumph 675 that I did a test ride on some months ago. But I am actually thinking about possibly putting my blue R1, my 2016 R1, as a sort of semi-permanent track bike, because it is glorious on track, but it's a bit of a liability on the road. But I don't want to sell it because I love it. It's just a stupendous machine, just for what it is. You feel like Valentino Rossi when you pull it out of the garage. It's just divine. Whereas this is something that I would happily happily ride every single day. I'd even do lightweight touring on it, get some cloth throw over bags on it, you know, a backseat bungee, and basically I would go camping on it, I'd go travelling on it, I'd do some lightweight touring around Europe on it, yeah, no problem. So ultimately I might actually go down to a one bike policy. I've still got some tours I want to do on my Tiger Explorer, probably another 2 years worth of trips I want to do on that, so no rush to get rid of that. But I do quite fancy putting my R1 on track full time and just take the liability of paying insurance for the road and just the sheer brutality of its power on the road, whereas this would make for me an absolutely ideal replacement for the road. I like it. I like it a lot. So I'm trying to think of any other points that might be needed to be raised for people who are interested in this bike. I can't off the top of my head think of anything right now. I think I've covered everything. But basically, in a nutshell, comfy, powerful, good brakes, handles like a dream. And it's very, very well built, as all Triumph bikes are. The fit and finish is superb, the switch gears are of a high quality, the metalwork and fastenings are all good quality stainless and high-end alloy. It's all excellent. Triumph have always been good in that respect for me. They certainly know how to finish a bike off well.
Hello, I'm talking to you now from the edit because due to that being a very hot day, my GoPro overheated and I lost the last bit of footage, which is only me wrapping it up. But it was actually 2 weeks ago that I did this video, so I've had quite a bit of time to think now about what I actually think about this bike, and I genuinely believe that this is one of the finest bikes I've ever ridden in my life. It's absolutely superb, and I've been struggling to actually think of a single bad thing to say about it, genuinely. The only one I can actually think of after 2 weeks of consideration is that the left hand switch gear is a little bit clustered and plasticky, and that the multi-directional joystick that you use to control the TFT screen and the rider modes and functions is a little bit too near to the turn signal and you do get them confused. That is quite honestly it. So yeah, the Triumph Street Triple 765 RS is an absolute winner and probably will be part of my life one day. So if you like that, please like this video and subscribe, and please do stay tuned for more test ride first reviews on my Veefour channel. I've got some coming up very shortly for you, so if you want to stay tuned, I'd be grateful to see you later on. Bye bye.